So we were talking. One of the things we forgot to talk about was the bad guys, like comeuppance at the end.
Yeah, do you remember how
He
the
just
main bad guy
like. So there's this scene where Shaq and the kid are stuck in the plywood room.
Okay, what
with like half-inch plywood.
Yes.
And he's in this big metal robot. He's like, there's nowhere to go. Like, what are we supposed to do? So then he finally makes the basket, whatever. Then so the henchman gets blown up by the grenade that he threw. Shaq walks out, and the bad guy goes whoosh, boom, shoots him. He just turns around, and it bounces back and hits him, and he's done. The bad guys are all defeated.
Yeah.
Like, it's so strange,
like
so
sudden. There's a
like,
line or two of dialogue in there where he's like, oh, you haven't seen my newest weapon. Let's see how your armor can handle this.
Okay, wait. Yeah. Back up. Are we talking about the scene where Judd Nelson is presenting all the weapons to the bad guy?
No. This is like when Judd Nelson dies.
Okay, but if you go back, let's just go back to that part. Judd Nelson is presenting to all these criminals. And then Shaq is just like laying there for like an hour. And then he just gets up and he's like, wait a minute, you haven't tried my new hammer. Oh, well, whatever you do, don't turn that red band. Oh, yo, if you told me not to do it, then I'm going to do it to show you who's... And then, it's so bad. And then it attracts, right?
Yeah.
And then it attracts all the guns. And then there's the huge fight scene. Wait, when he's in that little, 4-foot shed, and they bring back the joke about the free throws, does anyone know how long it takes a grenade to go off? Sure, it's longer than
it's
5.5 minutes, of talking and aiming, and then
what are we gonna do about this grenade?
Yeah, exactly.
Also,
reason with it.
You want to hold it?
You're on the other side of plywood. I don't think protects you.
No,
like he throws it, and it's just like right outside of the room.
I know.
Which the bad guy is doing this.
Yes, 100%.
Like he's waiting for it to explode, and
it's
like
I
you
know.
take it.
So
it's like
oh my god, and then when that's the part where I scream when he throws it up. Doesn't it bounce on the hole?
Yeah, it does around the rim in basketball, except it's on a vertical surface. There's no way that makes sense physically. Like it's bouncing like.
Yes, I know it makes no sense. Oh fuck, that was so bad. And then so then the part you're talking about, there were parts where I did get up to go grab a drink, and I admit I didn't pause it.
Well, this is right at the very end after they got out, and he's trying to escape with his brother.
Okay,
and then we see Judd Nelson. Oh, where are you going? You haven't seen my biggest gun ever. Let's see how your armor can handle this. And Shaq's like, no, and he grabs his brother to protect him.
Okay,
and he turns his back to Judd Nelson, who fires his new weapon. And it just bounces off Shaq, who just keeps standing there like he's not been hit by anything.
Sure, and then it kills himself.
He shoots himself. Right back at him. Which, considering that his old weapons were powerful enough to... Did it flip over a railway car?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it did. You're right. You're right.
A train.
Yeah, like a train.
Yeah, that's right.
That's another scene, my God, that we should have talked about. Because that scene is one of the most dangerous things that I've ever seen in a movie. Running around through a railway yard while they're actively shuttling trains.
Yeah, you're right. That was Buster Keaton level crazy.
That's my God. And if you were to do that in real life, you're dead for sure.
The guy laying on the train track with his head on the train track, I was actually like, how do they do that? Because if you have a train coming towards you, unless it's operated by a robot, and you have an 80 millimeter lens on there, to even just that shot is dangerous, right?
Yeah, but which is probably something that they did, but they still, and this is my point, is that they managed to make that entire sequence feel boring.
I was gonna say, I'm so surprised you guys love that scene so much because it was so boring. They're running. The one guy stops, goes, ooh, he's catching his breath, and he looks behind him, and there's a train coming. And it's like that. I hate that. It's not like he was in a subway where it's he's stuck, right?
Oh, that was
all he has to do is this.
Yeah.
It's not dangerous. You also don't hear a fucking train coming at you. It just
Okay, you know what else?
That trope. I hate it. Yeah.
Okay, this is what I meant about there not being a real threat or a real danger. When the helicopter is in the air, and it's a good, helicopter. Yeah, it's a good shot. Like it explodes.
Yeah,
That's a good shot. But then it's just to fall, and the cop is like, ooh, and then what? We have a character who has a suit of armor
5-ton
that can
suit.
shoot lasers and whatever, and all he does is run and grab him and then tackle him to the ground. That's his solution to the problem. It's so stupid, right? I don't know. There's just whatever.
I know this is changing it from the comics, but I feel like he should have had a shield or something. You know what I mean? Like instead of the hammer.
No.
I'm sorry. No, I totally.
He has to have the hammer because that's the character. John Henry had a hammer.
I know the.
But it's like Thor. They can't change that.
Did John Henry iron the original steel in the comic books have a hammer?
Oh yes, that's his weapon. All right. Yeah, you can't change that. I'm sorry, you can't.
I understand the connection to John Henry.
Yeah.
But I feel like you can change it from the comics.
No, but that's his like. What other superhero has a hammer? Well, Thor. But still, the fact that that's his character. Like, if he doesn't have the hammer, he's not John Henry. The point is that it's all about the rivets in the railroad. That's the character. So you can't. To me, that's the most important thing about him. I think it's even more important than the armor, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I'm gonna agree with Mike on this. Like, you have to have the hammer. I don't know about a shield. It's like
Isn't that Captain America?
Captain America. But also, like, what do shields even do in a modern world?
I just feel like his whole armor is a shield, though. Like, everything bounces off of him for no reason. Like, I feel like the hammer represents nothing in this movie.
Well,
except for the fact that his name is John Henry. Like, it has nothing.
Well, because they used it because he didn't use it as a hammer. He used it as a gun.
Yeah, he used it as a cannon. Which he clipped it onto the front of his motorcycle.
Yes,
which he quit the military because he didn't want to do anymore.
Right.
Like they had one line of like, well, sometimes you have to fight fire with fire. It's like that. That's fine if you're going to say that line, but if your whole thing is, I'm not using weapons, I'm not using guns, I don't want to hurt people anymore. And he's like, guess what? I got all these cool guns now. It's like, it just feels the opposite of what this character should have and what he represents. Like, I understand where you're coming from, like, as an adaptation, but this movie does nothing else, I think, that
but
that character.
But if he doesn't have the hammer, there's literally no reason to do this movie. Like,
so you think that because he has the hammer, like, it's a good adaptation? Like, I'd rather it be different.
But that's what he is. That's what defines him. So if you get rid of that, there's no reason to do it.
If I'm not mistaken, your point is, would you rather see a good movie without the hammer or a shit movie with the hammer?
That's what I'm saying.
Sure, but taking with a hammer will not make it a good movie.
No. The hammer's not the problem.
Yeah. I
do think the hammer.
But I do think that because it's like, okay, let's make a Batman movie, but let's make him have superpowers. Then he's not Batman. Like, what makes John Henry is that he's based on a black slave folklore hero that was all based on the railroad, that he had a hammer. And apparently the most famous story about him is that he fought some riveting machine or something.
And he died.
Yeah. So it's like, if you take that away, it's no longer, it loses all of its mythic quality, and he's not John Henry anymore.
I guess so. I understand what you're saying, but I don't think that this movie does anything else to make him John Henry, anyways.
Well, that's why
exactly? So why do it?
Why make the movie?
I agree, but like,
I'm just saying, it's like saying, well, there was a bad Batman movie, so let's make his costume red. I don't know. I
don't think that we should change the character forever.
Yeah.
I think that in this movie, the thing that they've set up, the story that they're telling, the hammer that turns into a gun is like the opposite of the message that they're trying to tell. Like,
that's why it should have just been a hammer, not a gun.
But okay, so I think it's kind of like Batman shooting, like Batman using a gun,
right?
And killing people, right?
Yeah.
So why not just make it a different interpretation of Batman rather than saying this is Batman, and he's also using, you know what I mean?
Well, no,
change it.
He just shouldn't have a gun. That's all.
I agree. I agree with that. I just had something pop into my head. Game of Thrones.
Sure.
You know, the king's bastard son Gendry. the blacksmith.
Okay, I think.
And
there's a lot of characters on that show. I don't remember.
Yeah. He's like the black haired guy that eventually ends up sleeping with Arya at the end in a very, very creepy scene.
I think so
because he's known her since she was little. He's the blacksmith.
Is he okay
with dark hair?
Is he the one that trains you to have no face?
No.
Okay. It doesn't matter. Okay.
Anyway, but when everyone goes to fight whoever, his weapon is a hammer.
Sure.
He's made a hammer for himself.
Sure.
Because he doesn't want to use a sword, he doesn't want to use a bow.
Right.
Because he's always used a hammer because he's been making weapons his whole time. And now it comes time to actually fight. I'm going to fight with a hammer.
Mm-hmm.
If they had done something similar like that, right?
Sure.
Well, I got to fight. I don't want to use a gun though because I'm doing this pacifist thing, but I still got to kick ass. So I'm going to use this hammer.
Yeah.
The same hammer that he used to make his.
Yeah.
I agree with you there. Yeah. Oh, I'm not saying to set it up right.
Simple hammer.
I'm just saying that's his character. So to take that away, that's literally the only thing that makes him unique to me. Mm-hmm. Because even Iron Man has a suit of armor. Mm. So I don't know.
But the hammer being a gun, I think, is
bad.
It's ridiculous. Like it's just it doesn't work.
And multiple kinds of guns.
Yeah.
It's got that. Yeah. It's got the non-lethal gun, but it's also got that laser gun.
I know. But
even making it the magnet doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't make sense to me.
I don't know.
The second worst thing is his mask showing his face, which is the problem even with Iron Man, because when you get a famous person playing the role, we gotta show his face, but Iron Man never takes off his mask because why would he?
And they came up with that whole like HUD view.
Yeah.
So you can like cut to Iron Man in the suit and it works.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
And every once in a while, I do remember like his mask will open up.
Yeah.
You see his face for a minute.
Yeah, he's got to talk and do. But if he's fighting, it's never open.
But in this movie, remember when the gangsters shoot at him?
He's just standing there.
But wait a minute, he has this big part they can shoot. Like it doesn't work at all. I don't think it's really stupid.
When he first forged that helmet too, I was thinking, like, okay, you forged an entire helmet in one piece of steel that tapers down to your neck. You're never going to get this over your giant head.
That's a good point.
It's not going to fit.
And they also to fill in the parts where they needed, like, remember his neck had like that mesh, but that wouldn't really work in real life. Not that it matters. I'm not going to get too technical. I know it's just a movie, but
I think too the fact that he's essentially playing himself doesn't help. Like I feel like Shaq is the biggest problem in this movie.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Well, but also, I think the tone is also a huge problem. Like I said, I think if they would have taken the exact plot and just treated it a little bit more seriously, like I said, I think the part that took me out was how Richard Roundtree and Annabelle Gish, how they just treated everything like a joke. That killed it for me. Because the exact plot, although it's not great, it could have been handled better, better tone, I think. Yeah,
and it would have helped if Shaq at any point was in some sort of danger.
Yes.
Like actual danger.
Right.
I don't mean, oh no, I'm suspended by a line that's breaking 80 feet above the ground.
And then it lands
in the dumpster.
Yeah, I know.
How you feeling? A little trashed.
Yeah, oh.
Another one-liner?
Bad.
But aside from that and the plywood little jail he was in, I think those were the only real time. The only times he was in any
danger,
semblance of danger. Aside from when he tried to jump from one building to the next for no reason.
Oh, I came in second in high school in high jump or long jump or whatever.
Yeah.
No, you can't do it.
And then he jumps to that building and the cops are there. Like he jumps to the building that the cops are already there.
It was just
Where are you going?
It's just everything needed a rewrite, I think.
But they've these things have been in other movies.
Yeah.
Oh, we'll just have them land in a dumpster like this movie.
You're totally right.
We'll just I don't know, like every little trope that you can think of was here, one way or another.
Yeah, that's it. It sucked. Well, I guess the question is why this movie? I don't know. And the fact that like you've never barely even heard of this character obviously means this character has not taken off. Although he did have a comic that lasted 80 issues. Since then, he's kind of just wandered in the background for.
Yeah, and I don't think that that's necessarily like a reason to not make a movie either.
Sure.
Like I always point to Guardians of the Galaxy as being like a shiny example of like something doesn't need to be popular from a comic or a story like to be successful, because it's like one of the most successful superhero movies, and I think that movie changed the entire MCU. Not just like story wise. I think that the way that they tell their stories and the way that the actors play the characters, and it just changes. That movie changed everything.
I totally agree. I think it changed. Yeah, I think it affected other franchises as well.
I mean, it changed Thor. Like he's a different character now because of Guardians of the Galaxy.
I totally agree.
It just. So I don't know.
You of course you're right. Anyone can make a good writer can make a good any characters seem good.
Yeah.
Or whatever, however you want to word that.
The source material is almost never
the problem. You're totally right.
Yeah,
I agree with you on that.
And I think you had mentioned that when we were recording too. Is that it felt like they were like, we need to make a movie. Let's make this movie.
That's true.
And let's cast this person, and then like it's an afterthought. Like
it's kind of interesting that, especially this early on, that they're reaching that deep into things that people don't know anything about.
Right.
Let's make a movie in the mid '90s about Steel. Nobody knows who Steel is.
Mm-hmm.
You have all these other superhero franchises that you could pick from, but you pick this one.
Mm.
Is it due to a lack of confidence in what you're able to do? So you don't want to mess up something that people might know? You might be afraid that if you're not, I don't know, like something that's too revered by people, you're going to make people angry.
Well, okay, this raises a good point. So, okay, with DC, they did Superman, then they did Batman, then they did Shaft.
Steel.
Then they did Steel.
Right, yeah.
Then they did Catwoman with Halle Berry. Then they brought
that was
Batman.
the next one after, like the next.
Yeah. So then it was Batman. Then they went right back to Batman and Superman, right?
That is so strange.
If you consider Catwoman a Batman spinoff, which it wasn't, but it is. So you have Superman, Batman, Superman, and in the middle of all this, you have Steel. It makes no sense. And I think put it this way, maybe if Shaquille O'Neal was not attached to it, maybe either it wouldn't have gotten made or it would have been a TV show. Maybe that's what happened. And I think it's because Quincy Jones and whoever else was involved probably were like, okay, we want to do a black superhero. And they're probably like, okay, who do we got? Well, not many. We got Hardware, who's not even DC. We got
Cyborg.
Black Lightning. We got Cyborg. They could have done Cyborg. There's not many. Cyborg, who also kind of looks like Steel. That's another problem with Steel. That's the problem with Steel is he's too derivative of Superman and Cyborg and Iron Man and other characters. Anyway. I don't know.
Yeah.
Steel.
I don't know either.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a perplexing. I mean, it's a perplexing era.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like we're doing this podcast, we watch all these movies, and almost all of them are bad.
Yeah.
Like they're almost all terrible.
And it makes me wonder how anyone had the stones to say, well, let's make an Iron Man movie now.
Right.
Because when did Iron Man come out?
2008.
2008. So 10 years and a little bit after this.
So to be fair, I think what happened was it was like Superman. Everyone knows Superman and Batman, and then they did Blade, and it was a minor hit. Then they did X-Men, and it was a pretty big hit. Then they did Spider-Man, and that was a massive hit. I think that started the phenomenon, the superhero thing. Okay. So I think that was it.
Oh.
Yeah, it's crazy that Iron Man is a thing because it has a very different feel from any of the superhero movies before it. Like it really is just an Iron Man movie. Like it doesn't feel like this feels Steel kind of felt like it was trying to be all of these other things all at once. Iron Man really is kind of its first of its kind. Not that there aren't parts of it that feel like other movies or feel derivative, but like it doesn't feel like it's copying anything else. You know?
I think that's the one thing I'll give Marvel credit for is that they made Iron Man what it is, and then Thor was like, okay, now we're going to do mythology, and then Captain America was like, we're going to do World War II, Soldier, whatever. And they try to make each of them their own genre, right? So I'll give them credit for that, for sure.
Yeah, I think that's also why a lot of the Marvel movies don't work now.
Because they don't have their own identity?
Yeah, they're all the same.
Yeah.
You know, like they all have the same feel. They all have like the same types of jokes.
That's true.
It doesn't, like at the start, like even Ant-Man at the start was like a heist movie.
Yeah,
like
the first two were great.
Yeah, I really loved the first two Ant-Man movies.
Have you seen them?
Which?
Ant-Man. No, 1 and 2. With Paul Rudd. They're
very fun.
I'm at Iron Man 2.
Oh, that's right. Oh my God. Okay.
They're very fun, but it's like it's a heist movie. Like so, it's a superhero movie.
Genre, yeah.
It has like a different genre in the superhero feel. Like it still feels the same, but different. It has its own like identity. And then after like some of the Avengers, like the big Avengers movies where they're like, all right, Guardians of the Galaxy, you're up. Ant-Man, Avengers, like everybody is all in one movie. They went back to their own movies and they're like, let's be Avengers 3.5,
yes,
3.7. It's just like a continuation of this like big thing now. Like it doesn't have to be.
Okay, so this addresses the problem introduced by one Shantai. You guys know Shantai, right? Shantai. So he's so ignorant of superheroes that when Batman vs. Superman came out like 10 years ago or whatever that was, he was like, wait a minute.
Almost, yeah.
Batman and Superman, they know each other? I'm like, yeah! He didn't realize that they existed in the same continuity because in his mind, he goes, well, okay, if Batman is like the Christopher Nolan Batman and Superman is like Superman, how come when Batman fights the Joker, Superman just doesn't swoop in and save the day? I'm like, exactly. This is why shared universes actually don't work. And if you're reading a Batman story, and I noticed this as a kid, as soon as he mentions Superman, the story falls apart. Yeah. Because we know Superman can just come in 3 seconds and solve everything. And so this kind of now has been exacerbated by the movies where it's like you have the Guardians of the Galaxy tone, you have the Thor tone, you have the Iron Man tone, and you put them all together, and then now everything's like a big pizza, and then they go back to their own movies, and you're like, oh my God, we don't know what to do now. Because now Ant-Man has to meet the Falcon, and and Thor has to meet Guardians, and now they're both funny, right? And nothing works anymore. I think that's a big problem.
Not to mention, it's I mean, I haven't seen these, but I can imagine that it's difficult to go backwards in the sense that you've set up all these character relationships in the movies where everyone's together, and then you split everyone off again, and now everyone's gone.
Yeah.
Where are all these people that you worked with? Oh, you're in a bind? Can't you call up some of these people?
Yep.
Yeah. I don't know. And it has always felt weird to me, too, to know that Superman and Batman exist in the same universe. They shouldn't.
Yeah,
I agree.
They should.
Thankfully, in the Avengers, none of them feel very Superman-y, where
like as if
like anybody could just anybody could just like come in and stop this. Like I feel like so thankfully there's nothing too world breaking like that. Even Thor, he's like off in space doing alien stuff. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't feel like he should be on Earth all the time.
But I don't know. It's the tone, and also even with when they to make a long story short, Spider-Man, the rights belong to Sony. Okay. So when Disney was allowed to use Spider-Man again, what they did was they put Iron Man on the poster and they put Tony Stark all throughout the movie to basically hammer home he's part of the Marvel universe. But in my mind, I think it ruined the movie. Like, if Tony Stark, like, the scenes of him sitting in the car with Peter Parker and in his bedroom, they're funny. They work. But the whole idea of, like, they go on a mission together, and then I think that really ruined them.
Which movie was this?
This was Spider-Man... Homecoming.
Yeah, the first one.
Yeah, so the first one of the new trilogy.
This is the first Disney...
Spider-Man.
Yes.
Okay.
Because up until then, it was 5 Spider-Man movies that were not connected to the Marvel Universe at all.
So essentially, they were just driving that one point home?
Yes.
We have this guy now.
Yes.
This is our guy now.
100%. That's what they did.
That's stupid.
And to me,
I think that I think I like their relationship.
Yeah.
I like him being a mentor to Spider-Man.
Sure.
And I don't know if you're cool with like a bit of a spoiler, but the whole kind of movie is him dealing with the fact that he's a teenager in high school, and he's also being recruited for the Avengers. And then at the end of the movie, he's like, I'm not an Avenger. I'm friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Like, I'm going to deal with things on a street level. I really love that idea for an arc. But I think that they do too much in the movie to make him like an Iron Man Jr.
Yeah.
Like his suit is made by Stark. Like, it's just like, there's too many things. I think the concept is great. And I also think that...
I think that would be a great concept for a sequel. But
he had been Spider-Man before in another movie that wasn't Spider-Man. And I think that their fear was they didn't want to do another, just a regular kid getting bit by a spider, and now he's got to learn to use his powers, because we had just gotten that like 5-6 years before
not even
his introduction. So
just because you're doing another Spider-Man movie doesn't mean that you have to, and this is okay, it's a new studio. So it's a new, starting from day one, Spider-Man. We all know the story.
Yeah.
Right? I've never read a Spider-Man comic, but I know that he gets bit by a radioactive spider. So I've watched enough Spider-Man.
Yeah. Right,
Sure. But I think... Well, go ahead.
Sorry. You don't need to show that stuff.
Yeah.
Just do a Spider-Man movie and set him up as being part of your universe if you want, but don't have half of the movie other characters.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
And the thing is, too, is the suit does ruin it, I think, the Tony Stark suit, because the whole idea is that he's supposed to make the suit himself, and it's supposed to be low tech, but...
They do take it away.
Sure.
He doesn't, like, even the final battle, he's not in he's in, like, a sweater. But I think they do a good job of that.
But do you remember, was it in Avengers 3 or one of them?
He has the Iron Spider.
Yeah, but there's that, which I hated. But then there was also the part where, isn't he like falling, and then Iron Man, and then Tony Stark just does something and he gives him a new suit?
That's Iron Spider.
Yeah, Iron Spider. That's it.
Yeah.
That's shit. Because that means if he can do that at that moment for Spider-Man, he can do that at any time for any character. So how is it unique? Like, and again, this goes back to the whole sharing.
I don't know.
Let me explain though.
Okay.
This is the only way that Iron Man works as a character is if Tony Stark is the only person on Earth that can possibly use this armor. Because if not, guess what? Mark Miller did a story where there was 1,000 Iron Man suits.
They do talk about that. Iron Man, or Tony Stark is the only one that can. And then in like the first Iron Man, and even Rhodes is like, I wish I could go in the suit or whatever. Then the second one, they set up the fact that he now has a suit and it's imprinted only to his like blood or DNA or whatever. And then in the third Iron Man movie, it's the same with Pepper Potts.
So you're pointing out there's 3 now.
Hold on. Yeah. So there's reasons. And then I will say
they're not good reasons.
There's reasons.
Well, I will say though,
as you're telling me this, I'm rolling my eyes.
At this point, he hates,
a suit too. I didn't know
hates all of the no. She doesn't have her own. Well, anyway. He hates all the other Avengers at this point.
Okay, but that doesn't
right. Like he's trying to like get them all in prison.
But what I'm but the point is though is that each character has like only Bruce Banner can be the Hulk. If there's 1,000 Hulks, the character, and only Tony Stark. Maybe there's something about his brain pattern. But if there can, like, put it this way, if Tony Stark can create 1,000 Iron Man suits, why doesn't he?
He does.
That's why it's crap. That's what we're saying, is it makes the character crap. There can only be, if the character's not unique, it ruins their character.
I agree 100% with that. Yeah. And it's a very simple problem to solve. Well, right? You don't have to make it, it's only imprinted to your brainwave. No. The fact is, the suit is like this. It's skin tight on him, even though it's this metal robot marvel of technology. How much room do you think there is inside that suit?
Sure, it should be like
it's Tony Stark shaped and sized inside there. And it'd be like putting on somebody else's fitted suit.
So you think that Iron Man is not unique? Like, I don't...
If there can be... this is the point. If Tony Stark can press something on his wrist and just give Spider-Man and a Iron Man suit, then that means he can do that for every superhero. Therefore, the whole thing falls apart like a house of cards.
Every single person in the world can be Iron Man.
Yeah,
right.
So how is that an interesting, unique character?
So I think the whole point of Iron Man 2 is that there will only be one Iron Man, right? Like the whole thing is like him and the suit are one. Like it's not like
but
one
then
without the
after
other.
that, he gives Spider-Man an Iron Man suit with just
that he can control, right? Like that Iron Man can control.
But this is the point: is if he can do that for Peter Parker, he can do that for Captain America and for Hawkeye and for Black Widow. Like, why is Black Widow walking around in spandex carrying a gun when she can just have an Iron Man suit? Why would she go into danger when she could just have right? You see my point?
I guess, but I think that you're.
No, I think they've revealed like the problem, the inherent problem, and it works in a kid's comic. But when you make it into a realistic movie,
so then why doesn't he just do that? Like, so then they should have never done any Avengers movie.
Well,
you know what I mean? Like,
no, okay,
because why? Just because Spider-Man gets one doesn't like.
No.
You could say that about. They should have stopped that at the beginning. Rhodes never should have been able to put the suit on. It should have been established from the very, very beginning that there's no way that he can make one of these for anybody else.
That's how it works.
And the fact that like he can push a button and make a suit, that's dumb too. He has to make them by hand. Because that's the cool thing about Iron Man. Right. He makes this suit by hand. This is his shit that he makes, not I've got my robot assistant. Hey, Jarvis, make me a suit.
Look, this is how they did it with Captain America. In the origin story, I believe, he gets the super soldier serum. He goes from a skinny guy to a muscular guy. Then a Nazi kills the guy that created the formula. Now you've solved the problem because now no one else can be a super soldier.
All you have to do is kill Tony Stark. He can never make another suit for anybody ever again.
Standing here.
But you see my point. It's just like, it's like if everybody that gets bit by a spider can become Spider-Man, he's not unique. But only there has to be something about Peter Parker's physiology that can make him Spider-Man. Therefore, he's unique. And I think that applies to all superheroes, right? Because like we said, then at that point, as soon as you know that anyone can have an Iron Man suit, Black Widow makes no sense. To just go into battle she's basically just a cop walking into battle in a bathing suit.
Yeah, I don't think it really makes sense even from the start. Like even from the first Avengers movie, it doesn't make sense that a man with a bow and arrow is swinging through New York City fighting aliens that are coming through a portal. So I feel like if you're gonna stop your brain at why doesn't Iron Man make everybody a suit because he made Spider-Man one, you should have thought of that from the first Avengers movie before Spider-Man was there.
I think everyone did though. Like even my friend Jared was like, wait, I don't understand. What can Black Widow and Hawkeye do? And I said nothing. One shoots arrows and one fires a gun.
I don't think that makes it bad. I don't know. So you think those characters just don't work? They shouldn't be an Avenger? Honestly,
objectively, no. I think the Hawkeye TV show is a good show.
Yeah.
But Hawkeye and the Avengers does not work. I don't think. No. And in fact, when they introduced the lineup, I expected Vision and Scarlet Witch to be in the Avengers, not Hawkeye and.
Who these people are?
Yeah, but you get the point. It's just like Scarlet Witch is a witch and Vision is an android with super.
Yeah, no. I understand the core concept of what you're saying, and I agree with it completely. That a lot of these characters don't have what it takes to fight the villains that are showing up in these movies.
Right.
And to some extent, like Batman versus Superman sort of thing, when they have to team up to fight some sort of crazy whatever. Sure. Yeah, Superman can handle that. Not Batman.
Right.
He's just some dude in a suit with some tech. Like he's gonna get fucking creamed.
What?
Yeah.
So then Batman doesn't work.
Well, he works for what he is, which is a crime fighter in Gotham City.
Yeah.
He's not this save the world superhero. Superman's a save the world superhero.
Yeah. I'm with you. I know.
Okay, so a couple things then with that. So like villains like Killer Croc or Clayface.
Sure.
Like that's not equal to Batman. That is not street level. That is way bigger
they push
than
the boundaries.
Like a guy in a suit fighting crime.
Sure.
That's crazy. And then every other Robin, every other like person in the Bat family falls into that Iron Man nobody's special now. aspect.
Oh, that's why I hate them all. That's why I hate them all.
Okay.
Listen,
Okay.
I only
So
like...
you just hate Robin,
Yeah,
you hate Nightwing,
I hate them all.
you hate...
No, listen, I like Dick Grayson. I like Dick Grayson.
Okay, go on.
I like Jason Todd for the temporary fill-in. I fucking hate Nightwing. I hate all these other... I hate them
Dick
all.
Grayson.
No, I like Dick Grayson. I like
Why?
Dick Grayson. What do you mean? He's being trained by Bruce Wayne to be eventually maybe be his replacement. But there's nothing like. What do you mean?
So like that is the same feel of
let's be
Tony Stark.
Hold on a
and
second.
they literally do talk about that he
I know
could inherit the Avengers and take over, and then he decides not to. Right? So like,
there's a reason every serious Batman film does not have Robin. It's because Robin does not work. Like I like Robin, but you kind of agree with our theory. Robin falls into that. He also probably shouldn't be there, right?
I'm going to agree with that. Just because Robin is always sort of a goofy sidekick.
Sure.
Right? So he's not going to work for me in a serious movie because of that. He does not work in the dark, brooding Batman universe. But at the same time...
But here's the thing.
It's fun.
Josh, it's not the same thing. Because a guy training to fight crime, anyone can do that. I mean, anyone can do that. But... a guy that can develop a suit that can fly into space is far more fantastic than a guy doing push-ups and then going and punching people. Like, it's like there's 1,000 cops.
Okay, sure, but I think that Peter Parker being extremely smart, developing all the tech as a high school student, and Tony Stark realizing that and like.
But again, like the point we're making is that okay, Iron Man is what he is, and Spider-Man is what he is, and they work on their own. But they can't. They don't mix. Like Superman and Batman actually don't mix in a realistic setting because, like, it's like in a Superman story they want to make him so powerful to fit the stories that he's in, which works. But then as soon as you put him in a Batman story, they both fall apart because Batman can't deal with the things Superman deals with. And Superman can too easily solve the things Batman deals with. So they don't, they're too mismatched. And I think it goes even with Marvel too. But only to some extent.
They're playing the same game, but on like a totally different level.
Yeah.
Totally different level.
I think so too.
Batman's still on the tutorial, and then Superman is like...
So why does the Justice League work then? In a lot of, obviously not the movies.
I think the only reason Batman kind of works in the Justice League is because he has a way around like, okay, Superman can fly. Well, he is the Batplane. And then Flash can run fast. Well, he is the Batmobile. And then he has all the tech. So it's like he has a way around everything everyone else can do. So that's why he works. But with Marvel, Hawkeye can just shoot arrows. Black Widow can just, shoot a gun.
Captain America can just throw a shield.
Yeah. So
like all of the characters, I feel like in the Avengers work as they are. They're all pretty much, besides Hulk and Thor, are just people.
Okay, that's true. You're right though, because they're more grounded. So technically, first of all,
they're just dudes.
But here's the thing: Hulk does not belong in the Avengers.
I agree.
Hulk not quit, but they wrote him out of the Avengers in Avengers #2 because he doesn't fit at all. He doesn't fit the team, so he shouldn't be there. Thor is by far the most powerful, but they kind of, again,
he is more of like a human.
Yeah. The writers can feel. Like, ideally what the writers would do is they would, if they're going to do an Avengers movie or a Justice League movie, they would even out their powers a little bit and go, okay, even though we've written Superman before that he can lift up a building, we're just going to say he can lift up a car. And that's at least more comparable to everyone else on the team, right? Because if he's as powerful as he is, the story just doesn't work.
Right.
All right.
I don't know what story we're talking about anymore.
Yeah, any story. I don't know. No, it's a good debate. I just don't think, and don't get me wrong, like I enjoy Justice League stories. I think it's just when you're reading a comic or watching a cartoon, you kind of just accept it.
It's easier to suspend your disbelief when you're seeing something drawn.
Yes.
Than it is
but as soon as it's realistic.
Live action.
Yeah. I think it just falls apart.
I don't know. I think that if you... I think that if it works, it works. Like if you I keep going back to Guardians, but does it make sense that a tree and a raccoon and a human are walking around and like hanging out together? You know what I mean? Like I know that like their power sets are the same, but like the tone is so strange and different. But they work together in this movie, how it was written, and I think that like something that Stan Lee says is like, everybody always used to ask him like, who would win in a fight?
Sure.
This person or this person or this person or this person, and he would always answer, whoever
the writer of
the story wants to win.
Yes, and that's what I say to everyone too.
So I think that if you're writing a Justice League movie and Batman is going to fight alongside them, then you write it where he is fighting alongside them and it works. Like, I don't think it always has to be goofy and doesn't.
No, you're right.
Fit the tone. You know what I mean? Like,
I think they have to. It can be done, but they just have to write it in a way. They certainly can't make Batman superhuman. They have to keep him grounded.
Yeah.
So then they have to make Superman weaker. It's the only way to make it work.
Or you just give him other ways to help out or do things in the story. You know what I mean? Like, he doesn't have to be flying around.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Okay, but now if you go character by character, even the Flash, like, do you know anything about the Flash?
I know he can run real fast.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah,
but
pretty
here's
much.
the thing, though, is that in the 80s, when things in the 80s, after Watchmen, things started to get more realistic, okay? And Mike Barron said, my Flash cannot run faster than the speed of sound. That's my rule. And I think that worked because the moment you have a character that can run faster than light, like in all the Flash movies and TV shows, he can run so fast that once he starts to run, everything else around him is stationary.
Mm-hmm.
So again, you have a character that is so powerful. How can he be in the same room as Batman? Like, oh, but Batman has a grappling hook. That doesn't matter because, you know what I mean? Like, Flash is so powerful. He can run on things that are falling from a building. He can use them.
He can literally go back in time.
Yeah, like, that's what I mean. It becomes ridiculous.
Like, I Superman.
It is kind of ridiculous. What was the Flash's powers in the original comic books?
Well, in the 50s and 60s, he could run faster than light.
Okay.
Which is ridiculous because he'd hear a gunshot go off and then, oh my God, they fired, and then he'd run. You know, it's like, no, if you've heard the sound, the person's dead. But then in the 80s, they go, okay, we're going to make it more realistic. He can only run as fast as sound. Okay, but
he can only run
make it more.
Yeah, I know. But actually, they came up with some good ideas because then what's that?
Make him more grounded and realistic.
Yeah.
He can.
Well, sure, but at least it's more.
Yeah.
It's close, and again, they also
at least
said,
he's not breaking the laws of physics.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Right. And they also said, oh, and by the way, his metabolism is so fast, he has to constantly be eating.
I love that.
It's a great idea because now it's like, now he can get tired out, right? And it's kind of like a running joke. He's always eating these burgers or whatever. So, I mean, I'm not saying they have to be super realistic, but at least grounded a little bit.
I don't know. I don't care. Like, if you want it to be realistic, why are we telling the story?
Here's the thing.
Wait.
Don't get me wrong. Don't forget, I love 60s superheroes more than current ones. I love those old stories, but the point is if you want to have a Christopher Nolan Batman, it can't exist alongside the Flash running and catching a baby or whatever he did in the movie. Like, you agree that Christopher Nolan's Batman cannot fit with that, right?
I think Christopher Nolan's Batman, yes, because it's written very
but not
real.
even Matt Reeves' Batman.
No, I agree. Yeah. Both of them. But I think that Ben Affleck's Batman is written to be in this world where these things happen. I'm not saying it's a great Batman.
No.
They didn't do a good job with any of the Justice League type movies, but
none of them were good.
None of them were good. But I don't think that you should write off
the concept.
The concept because it wasn't done successfully the first time.
I think
it can work.
I think what Sean Ty and Ian and our hypothesis is that we don't know if it can work. Like, don't get us wrong, Batman can be in a movie with Superman, but can there be like a good Superman and a good Batman, and then can they combine? I don't know if it's possible. That's think, right. Like a well-written.
There are ways to make anything work. If you're a clever enough, good enough writer, you can make that work. But you have to make some concessions, right? You have to write that into the story somehow.
Sure.
How are we going to make this make sense that Superman and Batman are in the same movie? Well, bring Superman's powers down, like I said, or make it that Superman is in some sort of danger. Perhaps he's been exposed to kryptonite, and he's been weakened, and now he's been brought down to the point that now Batman's stronger than him. Right? There's ways to make it work, but
write it where Batman and Bruce Wayne need to be in the story.
Yeah, Yeah.
Is what?
They need to be in the story. Like,
Sure.
for some reason,
Sure.
Batman's got the plan. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, there's...
But
Yeah.
I think Mike's right. Like, if you're talking about the quintessential Superman and the quintessential Batman as they normally exist at full strength with their powers, now they don't work together.
Yeah.
Because Superman can take care of anything that Batman can do in 2 seconds.
Mhm.
Right? He makes Batman obsolete.
Yeah, I think that's true.
And what's more, so many of these characters just have a different vibe, like such a different vibe that
Yes.
the universes feel different.
Yes.
Right? The Batman universe and the Superman universe are completely different worlds in my head.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Especially when we're talking about, like, I haven't seen any newer Superman. I haven't seen any of the who's the
Henry
latest
Cavill?
Henry Cavill. So I'm thinking more of Christopher Reeve,
sure.
Superman, and Michael Keaton Batman. That's my Batman. Those universes are totally different universes. Bright, shiny, optimistic world for Superman, and then this dark, dirty, brooding universe for Batman. So which one are you going to put both characters in?
And in the case of the movie Batman vs Superman, they put them both in the Batman realistic universe, and that's why many people like me hated the Man of Steel, because they just tried to make the Superman like Batman. But here's the thing: it's not just a superhero problem; it's a genre problem. Like, you can't take, the movie Seven.
Mm-hmm.
You can't take that and then go, oh, and now we're gonna have these two detectives meet up with the cast of Saved by the Bell, because you're now taking after school sitcom and film noir and smashing them together and just let's see what wacky adventures they go on. Mm-hmm. Like they cannot exist together because it's a genre: film noir, western, comedy, samurai. Like they can't. Or like, actually, what's a perfect example is I was going to say X-Files, but they kind of do it because X-Files is one of my favorite shows. Mm-hmm. But one of the problems with X-Files is, as you know, the concept, right? Have you seen X-Files?
I've seen some X-Files.
I love X-Files. But the whole concept is the government is hiding, there's a conspiracy between the government and aliens. That's the premise of the show. Mm-hmm. Now, while they're exploring that possible premise, on the way, they go, oh, by the way, there's a Sasquatch in New Jersey, and there's a human worm thing over here, and they can, because everything's a mystery. But then once they get to the midway point of the show, season 6, and they reveal that yes, indeed, the United States government is in collaboration with the aliens, and this is what happened, and this is what's going to happen, and the Earth is going to be invaded. You can't then the next week go, and by the way, Dracula is in Los Angeles. Like, you've lost, you can't then go back down to this smaller scale. You know what I mean? Now,
I disagree, though. Okay, I think it's how you set up the world.
Okay.
Because the Avengers works. And we did just talk about how the fact that all of the different Avengers characters by themselves, it's a different genre.
Yeah.
But it's built to be in this same world. So when they come together in the Avengers, it works. You're not like, what is this? What is Thor doing in the Avengers?
No.
It works in the Avengers movie. You're not like, he should be fighting Norse gods. Like, what the heck's going on here?
Here's the thing. It works for most people, but I'll tell you what doesn't work, okay? You want me to tell you?
Sure.
Is that in Avengers 3, when, or whatever, 3 and 4, when Tony Stark spends almost the entire movie in a spaceship coming back to Earth, I don't think that works. Because, again, you've taken the characters that work in a certain environment, you've taken them out of that environment and put them somewhere else, which is the same problem with Ant-Man 3. Ant-Man 1 and 2 were comedy heist films. They were about a father with a estranged daughter, kind of, right? Struggling relationship. So it was comedy. There was his crazy partner and blah. It doesn't matter. But then in Iron Man 3, they go, let's throw that out the window and let's have him shrink down to the quantum verse. And he goes into a universe inside an atom, and there's all these aliens, and it basically now you've put him into almost Star Wars. Yeah. And so the point is that you've taken everything that worked and you've gotten rid of it. And so that's what I feel to some extent Avengers 3 and 4, which is why I like them, but I don't love them, because you have Iron Man, Tony Stark, which is one thing, and then you have Doctor Strange, which is a mystical thing, and you put him on a spaceship for the whole movie. And I'm sitting there going, this is not what I want to see in an Avengers movie.
Really?
No,
that's so
I don't want to see
it.
it.
Works for me. I think that those two worlds colliding is what the movie's about. Is all of these different characters coming together and their differences and how they're. It's not like they don't talk about it being weird and different. You know what I mean? Like it.
I think it works for the most part. Which you haven't seen these movies, you can't comment. But you can use your imagination.
I can use my imagination.
Yeah.
It's like Doctor Strange and Iron Man on a spaceship for a movie. It sounds dumb.
It just for me it doesn't work. Now here's the other thing too is that I don't know, Thanos, great character, great story, but again. It's a realistic setting and it's a realistic movie, and for the most part they try to follow the laws of physics, okay? But couldn't they have done the exact same story and just said Thanos wants to destroy the solar system or maybe the galaxy, but doesn't he try to destroy the universe? Or he kills,
I agree. I will say I think that's the weakest point of the last two Avengers movies is Thanos' plan. So in the comics, he's in love with death. The personification of death is a woman. And he is obsessed with her and she doesn't reciprocate. So he is going around trying to find all of these magical gems so he can kill off half of the universe and send all of these gifts essentially to death. In the Avengers movies, his planet was bullied, so he takes all the Infinity Stones and he kills half the population, so there's more food and water and resources for everybody that's left over. Instead of getting a gem that changes reality, and instead of doubling the resources, he halves the population of every creature.
Okay, now to be fair...
It's very stupid.
Here's the thing, though. To be fair, I think it's an interesting idea that's his motivation. But again, with the laws of physics and the speed of light and the infinite size of the universe, do they have to say universe? Can't they just say solar system or galaxy? Just to give it that little extra bit of reality. Just give us something. Give us something.
I don't know. I don't care. It's an alien that is collecting magical gems.
This is what I mean.
To literally snap his fingers in half.
This is the problem.
I don't care if it's the universe, the galaxy, or what.
Okay, so in Avengers 3 and 4, they're dealing with the end of the actual universe. Then they save the universe. This is what I think you agree with. Then the next adventure cannot be, there's a bank robber, we have to go stop him, because it's like, no, you can't. Like once you've gotten to that level of conflict, you can't, as a viewer, take it seriously when then the next adventure is so banal.
I disagree. So you enjoyed that Ant-Man Quantumania goes into the quantum verse.
No, I hated
So you
that.
would have rather had just a heist movie. And you have a grounded Ant-Man movie just doing Ant-Man things, doing a heist.
Because they shouldn't have done the Thanos thing. That's my point.
I don't think that you would have been like, oh, I can't take this seriously anymore.
Why did Ant-Man have to get shrunk down into the quantum?
He didn't. You're saying story-wise?
Yeah.
After
two heist movies, why did that happen?
He saved
Michelle
Pfeiffer, who was shrunken down 30 years ago or something like that.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then, all right, so why not... So they picked his character just because his name is Ant-Man?
Well, because he can shrink, but he can...
to a quantum
usually
level.
It's to this level, but in the third movie, it was even, to the quantum level.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But this is my point, Josh, is that they shouldn't... that's why the Avengers movies don't work for me. Because, again... In Avengers 1... Okay, look. In Avengers 1, there's, aliens invade? Okay, fine. In Avengers 2, they take a city and they float it into space. Hated that concept. Stupid.
I agree that the set piece of that didn't work, but I think that Ultron works.
Yeah, he's cool. He's cool.
Okay.
But then, in the third and fourth, it's the Infinity Stones. I guess my point is that, again, it's like once you have Thanos and you have these gems that could control all of reality.
I don't.
How can you then top that?
So
what's the next
Hawkeye
villain?
was shit then. They shouldn't have done the Hawkeye TV show.
You got it back. No, Josh, you get it backwards. Hawkeye's good. Avengers is not. That's my point. You can't do Avengers because then it ruins Hawkeye.
I don't think that I don't think it ruined, but you just said that it was a good show, so it didn't ruin
It is
Hawkeye.
a good show, but
So like, and
I
it
guess
does happen afterwards, and not only that is
put it this way.
I
the things that
think
happen.
Mike's point is that it ruins Hawkeye in the context of
Yeah.
I,
the Avengers.
he,
The show
he-
is
in the
good.
show, he's dealing with things that happened in the Avengers movies. He literally, there are scenes where he goes to a monument where all of his, it's a monument for his friends that have died. And it's
Sure.
about him, it can work. I
would
just
they
don't.
would they not be able to do a Hawkeye TV show if the Avengers movies didn't happen?
No, they could have done it,
Yes.
but
Yes,
so
that's the point.
but
They
But
didn't need
despite-
him to be in the
right,
Avengers.
but despite there being an Avengers movie, the show still works,
Yeah,
and it's still
but
good.
don't you think
So
you have
the,
to?
the show,
I don't
the
think-
show is its own entity.
Exactly.
You,
So
you can take shit characters out of any
Yeah.
shit movie and do something good with them as long as you're.
I agree. So I don't think that the Avengers movies have any consequence in the individual movies or TV shows.
That's probably a bad thing, though. No, but here's the thing. though.
No, sorry, the quality. I mean,
Okay, but here's the thing.
it doesn't.
I know what you're
affect it.
saying, but like we agree that there have been bad Marvel movies
Mhm.
and TV shows,
I agree.
but you can't say that. Well, Hawkeye was still good, so that means it's okay to make a bad Eternals movie. Obviously, you wouldn't say that.
No, but I think that we're on the same page. There is, I don't think that you need to make everything an Avengers movie after Avengers was so successful. Those characters can now go on their own and do their own thing, and the ones that do that are the successful ones. The ones that have to be Avengers 2 are the ones that are
Okay,
not
but
successful. Like the Eternals was not successful because it feels like it's trying to be this Avengers type epic. Same with Quantumania.
let's put it. Okay, I think this is my ultimate point. We should
Mhm.
wrap this up at some point.
Sure, yeah.
Is that the idea of Thanos is okay. I just wish that even if he got these 5 gems or 6,
Mm.
I wish that the scale of reality that he could affect was much smaller, like the solar system or even Earth. I can accept that. But when you say it's the whole universe, just that threat being there, it makes like, how can you follow that up? That's what I'm saying. You can't. It's impossible. So I just wish that they wouldn't have gone, because as we've seen in the last 5 years, Marvel does not know what to do because they can't top Thanos.
So
It's the Death Star syndrome.
Right.
Every time there's another Star Wars
Yes.
big bad weapon, it's just another Death Star
bigger
that's
Death
bigger
Star.
and bigger and bigger.
So
until
if you have a
when?
Superman movie and the Earth is at stake, then the next movie where the Earth is at stake is shit because it's already been done before.
Well,
like,
yeah.
oh, well,
Yeah, kind of. And that's
so
but-
then if
but listen-
Metropolis is in danger, then it's like, oh, well, you have to make it the Earth the next time.
No.
Or if it's just Lois Lane, it's like, oh, Lois Lane is in
But
trouble
hold
again.
on.
Like, it
But
doesn't
no,
work. It's an
you actually
before.
raised a good point. In the
Right?
first Superman movie, there was 2 nuclear bombs,
Mm-hmm.
and it raised some problems, which we saw when we reviewed them. Is like, if he can just go back in time, it does affect everything because he can do that every movie. We've talked about that.
Yeah.
But the thing is, though, is I actually think that in a Superman film, it should only ever be Metropolis that's threatened, because as soon as you go outside Metropolis, it all kind of falls apart, which is kind of like what we're saying.
Mhm.
So I think there's nothing wrong with Metropolis being in danger in every movie, but the threat, like, if there's someone that can, it's like, okay, if in the first movie it's a villain that can destroy Metropolis or Gotham, then in the second movie it's Joker robbing a bank. Don't you see the problem? It's like,
No.
oh,
I don't
the
see
characters
the
that I-
problem with that
yeah.
so much.
Okay.
I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
I agree with Mike's point. You got to keep it in a plausible range.
Yeah.
Right. If you deal with somebody can destroy Metropolis and now or Gotham, and now you're dealing with somebody robbing a bank. These are still things that are happening within a city, and this is the city where the stories are taking place.
Mhm.
But if you have Batman trying to save the universe
yeah.
and then coming back to stop a Joker from robbing a bank, that doesn't work because you've gone from here to here to here, and now you're trying to come back here.
See, I
Yeah.
don't think so, because I think I still care about Gotham. I still care about Batman. I still care about the characters in the city. Like, I don't think it erases that.
Well, okay.
So if they make a great Justice League movie
Mhm.
and then they make a Batman spin-off that's Christopher Nolan, I'm not gonna be like, I already saw Batman do this before, like at a bigger scale. So this isn't exciting or like new to me.
But
What difference does it make if it's the same version of Batman? Like, I think if the story is good and we care about the characters, then it works. Like, I don't know. I can suspend my disbelief that these crazy things have happened before.
I think you have to, of course, but I think ultimately what it is I think Ian, you clarified it better. It's almost like in any cop show, there can be one episode where someone has a bomb, but then the next episode is about a kid being kidnapped. Two huge, like different levels, but they're still kind of like close in the same range.
There's still things that a cop might have to deal with,
right?
And not be like, oh my God, this is something I've never.
Yeah.
No, there might be a bomb, there might be something crazy,
right?
It might be just whatever, but. And I think another problem with movies like the Avengers or franchises that do that sort of thing is that it's not just you're doing a bunch of shit and then all of a sudden, whoa, you're up here. It's you're constantly building and you're constantly building. First it's the city, and then it's the planet, and then it's the solar system, and then it's the universe. And then you can't walk it back.
Yeah.
Right?
See,
if you're hanging around down here and then you have like, whoa, then you can come back down.
Iron Man by himself, though, doesn't stop the universe, right? In Iron Man 1, he's like stopping...
Or saving.
He's not saving the universe, right? He's fighting a guy, and the next one he's fighting a different guy, and the third one he's fighting a different guy. Avengers movies happen in between where they save the world.
Yeah.
And it's because it's this different thing. It's like this group of people coming together, and then when we go and we see Iron Man by himself, he's doing his own thing.
I know what you're saying.
I don't know. It just to me doesn't break it.
It's like one cop can handle, a domestic,
right?
And then now we need the SWAT team
exactly
drug deal. Okay,
like
I understand that, but I think it's the scale. I really like. I know that everyone loves the Avengers movies, but I really think that they've kind of blown it with Thanos because we've seen they can't top Thanos. So here's the thing: they can't top Thanos. And they can't top Robert Downey Jr., so they're just bringing back Robert Downey Jr., right? You saw that, right, as Dr. Doom?
Oh, I did see that.
Yeah,
I think a lot of the decisions that they're making post-Infinity War, Endgame are really poor.
Yeah.
But I also don't think that is the sole answer to, we can't do this anymore. Because other things have worked past it. It's just that the decisions that they're making, I think, they're kind of struggling to keep that hype. And I don't think the general audiences need that Avengers hype to be excited about these properties. Again, Hawkeye was great and was successful. And it didn't have to be this gigantic thing. Just keep making
Yeah, no, I agree. Don't get me wrong. I love Hawkeye and Ms. Marvel and all that. I guess my point is I think the ultimate proof of our theory is that whatever the next villain is, if he's not as powerful as Thanos, then how can he be as scary as Thanos? Because who's it going to be now? Is it going to be...
Well, it was Kang.
It was Kang, but now who's it going to be?
Now I think it's going to be Dr. Doom, and it's going to be Secret Wars.
So
I don't know how they're going to... what they're going to do, but
you kind of agree with my point, right?
I agree with that. I agree with that. There's ways around it. There's ways around everything if you're a good enough writer. And I haven't on the podcast, I haven't talked about Star Trek in a minute, so I'm going to talk about Star Trek.
I got a pee so bad, but
the best of both worlds, the 2-part episode, was a peak moment in Star Trek: The Next Generation. You've got this crazy villain, the Borg. You've got Captain Picard. He's kidnapped, and everything's blowing up. How do you top that? You don't. The very next episode is family, where Picard goes back to Earth and he hangs out with his brother, and it's a character story, and it's very grounded. And there isn't a villain, and it's just them. It's just Picard dealing with the aftermath of everything that's happened to him.
Right.
So you do something like that. Have a movie where it's more introspective. Of course, that's not going to work.
It won't make any money.
It's not going to make any money because superhero fans aren't going to go for that sort of thing.
I don't know. It did.
What did?
That sort of thing worked.
In what?
In the Avengers. Like, you have this world-ending thing, then you have small stories where it's just like characters dealing with what happened in their families, and you know what I mean?
But
like
I think
it's not this spaceship battle.
So I haven't seen any of these, so I don't know.
He's all speaking theoretically, but okay, let's wrap it up. Let's just say that we'll revisit this discussion after the next big villain is introduced.
Yeah, I'm not saying that.
Or the next Superman Legacy.
We'll see if that is going to be a huge test because they're building up this universe. Like, I feel like every couple of weeks, we have like, oh, we've got a new casting for this
I know.
superhero that's going to be also in the Superman
I
movie.
know.
Like, there are dozens of superheroes in this new Superman movie. And it's supposed to be this launching point to have all of these movies, like Batman, in this same universe as Superman and do a new Justice League. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I love James Gunn, but I do not like all that casting one bit. But we'll see what happens. Okay, let's wrap this up.
Yeah.
Next supervillain's got to be Judd Nelson.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it does.
Yes, it does.
All right. Okay, that's the end. You know what this
Yeah.
podcast was missing? You.